What was your name again?
Yossi.
Anonymous. Can I call you Anonymous Yosef?
Just call me Yossi. That's my first name.
Okay. All right. So, the other person, please, just don't interject.
Fine.
So you wanted to ask me something?
Okay. So you believe the Torah is corrupted, yes?
That's undeniable. Yes, I believe that 100%.
Okay, so just
the one that you have now.
Yeah, sure. So why is it undeniable? Just like give me
because it's mentioned in the Quran.
Okay. So the thing is, if the Torah was preserved, the Quran would be wrong, yeah? According to you.
If it was uncorrupted, then it would coincide with the Quran. If it was uncorrupted, it would say the same thing as the Quran. In terms of creed, in terms of belief.
Can you explain to me how that works? Because if the Quran is making a false claim, for example, right, if we can establish that the Torah that's in our hands is the one that came down from, Sinai, from Mount Sinai, from the mouth of Moses and so on and so forth, in his hands, directly revealed by God, then what that would mean, right, is that the Quran is making a false claim that the Torah has been changed, that the Quran is contradicting the previous wahy, the previous revelation.
The fact of the matter is that the Torah that exists nowadays, it is corrupted. And one of the glaring proofs for that is that it contains blasphemy.
Okay, so how does it so your first claim about it being corrupted, right, or your first argument or reasoning for it is that it contains blasphemy, yes?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so can you tell me about this blasphemy?
For example, saying that God rested. For example, saying that David lusted after Sheba and killed her husband, or tried to kill her husband.
Those are the other books of the second one is the other books of the Bible, right? That's not the Torah that was given to Moses on Sinai. Those are the other books of the Bible, which are still preserved. We're arguing about the Torah. The thing is, right, with God, so you're saying that God resting specifically is blasphemous, okay?
And also saying that God is stingy.
Stingy? Where?
Yeah.
Like where's
This was the claim of the Jews in Al-Madinah during the time of the Prophet.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm not from Medina, and I don't know about anything of God being stingy in the Torah. That's true.
Yeah. Well,
anyways,
they followed the same thing.
Once again, if there's nothing really about God being stingy in the Torah, so I mean, I don't know what you or your riwayah are talking about. But anyways, regarding the resting thing, right? When it comes to our beliefs about the Torah, we have a system of interpreting the Torah based on naql, okay, based on the interpretations that come down to us, the tafsir of the Torah that come down to us from.
Your naql is not credible.
Yes. Okay. Well, hold on. Just let me finish. Right. Based on naql.
At least keep that in mind when you're talking.
Let me finish. It is credible, but you don't know about their naql. That's the thing.
It's
what
not
you know,
credible because...
I'm just going to establish really quickly. What you know, generally speaking, comes from like the old traditional da'wah arguments. They don't really come from like an in-depth like study on Judaism. But anyways,
just come straight from the Quran. Allah made it clear. Are you familiar with Al-Fatiha?
The naql. Let me finish though. The naql that we have establishes that, for example, when it says that God rested or God regretted and so on and so forth, that these things are not literal, that these things are not God literally resting or changing or, for example, becoming, one thing and then becoming another thing and so on and so forth.
But it's still blasphemous to say.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so even if it's allegorical, right? This is not according to our own. This is not according to our own qiyas. This is according to naql that we say that it's not literal. But you're saying that even if it's allegorical, it's still blasphemous, yes?
Yes.
Okay. If somebody said that God, you'd say that, so somebody's saying that God regretting or changing his mind or resting, or how would you say, let's say that he was sleeping.
Attributing God with a mind, that's blasphemous in itself.
Well, I'm not, once again, this is like allegorical. But let's say, like, okay, so attributing God with a mind, right? Attributing God with, resting and regretting. And let's say that he is saying that he was hungry, right, or that that he was hungry, or that he was sick, and so on and so forth. You agree that that's blasphemous,
Or
right?
that he was walking in a garden, or that he turned into a man, or that he had a son.
Okay, so even if it's
Even if they claim that it's allegorical, yes, enemies of God.
Instagram Live, so I didn't know if you close the app, it'll
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
we got the app, it'll close it from the stream. Anyways,
yeah. That's why it's
so,
live.
thank you. So your claim is that any attributing of, let's say, we don't attribute this, but sickness, illness, regretting, right? Any
Any
sorts of these things, resting, all that
imperfection.
is regardless of the meaning, it's blasphemous. Yeah.
No, it has to be if linguistically the meaning is
I'm
if it
saying if even
is
if it's allegorical,
if
even
the
if it's
meaning is
allegorical.
if the meaning is not befitting linguistically, even if the person claims that they're being allegorical, they blaspheme.
Okay, and so you would agree that this applies to illness and sickness. So if that is the case, why do you have a hadith
Yes,
that where
it applies
why
to
do you have a
illness and
hadith?
it applies to sickness. It applies to all
Okay.
emotions. It applies to bodily
Okay.
attributes. It applies to
If I'm,
all of that.
yeah. So if that is the case, why do you have a hadith in Sahih Muslim, and I also think in Al-Bukhari, but I posted a link in the chat, where Abu Hurairah says that Muhammad said that God will say to the Son of Man on the last day, "Oh, Son of Man, I was sick and you did not visit me, and I was hungry and
No,
you did
no,
not visit me."
no, no, no. See,
Yes,
first
this
of
is what
all,
it says.
the hadith, no, it doesn't. The hadith is in Arabic, number one. Number one. Number two, um, in the Arabic language, that word, let's say, whatever word that was used in the narration, it has multiple meanings in the language. Doesn't just have
Yeah, I
one
can also
meaning.
say that for resting, and I can also say that for resting and regretting.
No, resting doesn't have multiple meanings. What in the
Yes,
world?
in the Hebrew language, the word vayunuchem and the word vayunufesh, the word for resting and the word for regretting, I can also say it has multiple meanings.
Well, that's something that you claim, but that still doesn't change the fact that in Al-Fatiha, they are described as those who shall be punished
Okay,
by God.
I heard that, but the
Yeah.
problem is that you have a hadith which says that God was sick and God was hungry.
No,
Even if you want to say
that's not
multiple
true.
meanings, well, it is true. Even if you want
Mm,
to say multiple meanings, why can't I do the same thing to my own text and I take the words vayunufish and vayunuchem
No,
and say that
no, well,
these things have
well,
multiple different meanings, so therefore we can
no.
redefine
Don't,
what they say in the
yeah,
literal sense.
don't misunderstand me. I'm saying that whatever in the Arabic language is called mutashabih. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. It just means a religious text that it has multiple meanings, and the apparent meaning is non-befitting, so it's not used. So it would have to have an alternative explanation that coincides with the language and with the other religious texts. So if something like that exists in the original Torah, then that's fine.
So you're saying if we just, I didn't misunderstand anything you said.
But in English, it doesn't work. You can't say
Okay,
rest
well,
and say I mean something befitting to God. You can't say rest and mean perfection.
Okay, like I said, our Torah is not written in English. Our Torah is written in Hebrew. But if your claim is that you have to take the apparent meaning, okay,
No,
of
you
a
don't.
word.
You can't take the apparent meaning
No,
when
let me finish, please. Let me
there's
finish.
multiple
I heard
meanings.
what you said. Let me finish. Is that if you can't, yes, I said, if your claim is that you have to, if you have to take the apparent meaning, and if it doesn't befit God, the apparent meaning
I
has
said you.
has
I
to be
didn't say
taken
that
out.
though. Why are you saying that? I
Yeah, so
didn't
let me
say that.
finish. You're not gonna hear what I'm. You're not gonna
But
understand unless you let me
you
finish.
have
Hold on.
to. If you're gonna quote me
You have.
correctly.
I'm not.
Don't.
Wait. Let me finish. Just let me finish. You'll hold on. You have to not go by the apparent meaning if it doesn't befit God. But you have to
Correct.
take the apparent meaning every other case. Yeah. Okay. The problem with that is that this falls into complete subjectivity. There's no objective
No.
way to say whether or not this is the apparent
That's
meaning or not the apparent meaning. You don't have, just really quickly. You don't have any sort of like how would you say, any sort of knuckle or like
yes, I
riwayah
do.
that outlines
I
specifically.
have a
Let me finish.
rebuttal.
You don't have it. You don't have something that outlines specifically the criteria for something being befitting and not being befitting.
Yes, we do. So can I respond
Okay,
now?
can you
Okay.
show me the hadith?
So yeah, yes, there's many hadith. But starting with the Quran, the most explicit verse in the Quran, because the verses of the Quran, most of them are explicit, and that's the foundation, that's the basis. and some of them are mutashabih, yani they have more than one linguistic meaning, and they have to be given an alternative explanation, yani other than the surface meaning. So the rule is that every type of religious text that has multiple meanings, it has to coincide with the explicit text. And the explicit text says, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And this is from Surah Al-Ikhlas, which is a very short surah. It's only 4 ayahs long. And actually, the way or the backstory behind the revelation of this chapter is that some Jews, they came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not to learn. Obviously, they just came to try and belittle him and mock him. And they said, describe for us your Lord. Because the Jews, they anthropomorphize and they attribute bodily attributes to the Creator. So they were mockingly asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this surah was revealed. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. The last ayah, it means that there's absolutely nothing like him. That means that there is
Yeah.
zero similarity between God and the creation from any aspect in any way whatsoever. So
Yes,
that's
which is
the
what we
base.
believe.
That's the base. That's what you claim you believe. But that's the base,
No, that's
right?
what we believe. It's like,
Well,
but hold on. So
I'll tell you this. This is the first time that I've had a conversation with a Jew like this. But you know what it reminds me of right now? Talking to a Wahhabi. So I know that you guys have similar
when do the
ideas.
Wahhabiyya, the
They have
Wahhabiyya
similar
are
ideas.
Mujassima.
Yeah,
They
and
are
so are you.
Mujassima.
And so are you.
Hold on. We don't say that
And so are
God
the
literally
Christians.
has a yed. We don't say that he literally has a ras, or that he literally has a foot or a leg, and so on and so forth. We don't say these
But you
things.
use the same
We,
word.
okay, it doesn't matter if you use the same words if the meaning is completely different. Whereas the Salafiyun will
Well,
literally say that God literally has a makan, that he
no, they
literally
also
has, that
deny
he
that. They
literally is,
also
that he is
deny that.
literally above. Hold on. That he's
They also
literally
deny
above
that.
a place. But the problem is that they use the exact same argument that you use, saying, and they say the words befitting to his majesty. That's the issue. Whereas we don't say that these are actually things which apply to God.
No,
These are all
the issue
created
is
exceptions because God is not
the
similar to the creation at all.
the issue is that the Wahhabi, he uses doublespeak and he says hand, but then he says at the same time not physical. He wants to say
Yeah, I'm aware.
organ,
I'm
but
not
he
even
wants to at
saying
the
that.
same
I'm
time
not
say
even
not
saying that
physical.
the yed is literal. Here's the thing. I'm not even saying the yed is literal. The yed is not literal. It's not really a yed. For example, you have in your ahadith, and you'll admit to this, for example, that
Yeah,
says that God
that's
has a
correct.
ras, God has a yed, God has a foot, and so
No,
on and
not
so forth.
there's no narration about a Ross. There's
Well,
a
yes,
narration
there
about
are
Yed. There's narration
hadith about
about
ras.
Yed, but the Yed, since Allah revealed it, we can use it with the befitting meaning. But it doesn't mean
Okay, so
what
why
everybody has the understanding.
so why can't we
Everybody,
use
wait, hold
ours
on.
with the befitting meaning?
Everybody has. I'm not saying you can't if that actually exists in the Hebrew language. I'm saying that that's not the belief that you believe. I'm saying that what the Jews believe has been said and mentioned in the Quran, and the Quran is our trustworthy source that is impeccable. And so anything that you say that contradicts it is automatically incorrect. You understand?
Okay, so
So,
even
and
if
that
we have books, hold on, just like really quickly, even if we have like Qutb al-Aqidah and fiqh and so on and so forth, right? That they come to contradict the Quran, where they
yeah.
establish, for example, what our actual belief is when it comes to God's simplicity, God's lack of similarity to creation, and so on and so forth, right? And let's say that these books, right, the ijma' of the mashayikh of the Jewish people, of the shuyukh and the ulama and so on and so forth of the Jews, is that these books contain naql and the interpretation of the naql that has been passed down every single consecutive generation, right, all the way until Mount Sinai, or all the way until the source that we all attribute it to, right? Then this would really come to contradict the idea that the Quran is, that this would come to contradict the idea that the Jews are mujassima, and that the Quran either is referring to some small group of people, or the Quran is just misunderstanding what we are saying.
No,
Because we have,
but
for example,
that's why your knuckle
hold on.
is not credible. That's why it's
If
basically you're
if
saying
if you're
take
really,
our word for it. Wait, hold on. It's like you're saying take our word for it that the Quran is wrong. Like
no, I'm
that's
not saying take
insane.
our word for it.
That's
No.
insane.
I'm
Yeah, you're
saying
talking
just
about your
wa
knuckle.
ta'dil.
Explain
I'm
the
saying
word
just wa
knuckle for the
ta'dil.
people that don't know Arabic. Explain the word knuckle for the
Naql.
people that don't know Arabic. Knuckle means what the people that before you said, and what the people before them said, and what the people before them said. You
Yeah, why
claim
do you use
that
hasana?
everybody. You said that you claim that everybody from you up until leading up to Moses is saying things that are contradictory to the Quran. When the Quran has more credibility than what you say, and the Quran explicitly says that Abraham is Muslim, that Moses is Muslim, that Jesus is Muslim, that David is Muslim, that Sulaiman is Muslim, that their creed is the creed of attributing God with all proper perfection and clearing all imperfection.
Okay, yes, I understood. Okay,
yeah, so how is that going to, how do you claim that that's evidence? Your knuckle is just what the people that you claim have a chain told you, but that's
not just a chain, but also like an entire national attestation. It's not even just like ahad. But anyway, I'll get to this. First of all, the Torah establishes. Give me a second. Hold on. The Torah establishes, like me saying, the Torah is more reliable than the Quran. Okay, so anything the Quran says, right, whatsoever, is absolutely like da'if. There's nothing to rely on any words of the Quran. The Torah establishes that somebody who comes to try and abolish the Torah and abolish the law and wants to make his own Sharia, that this person is a false prophet. So I can say
that's crazy.
Secondly, the knuckle, when it comes to our knuckle, okay?
Yeah, I don't.
How?
Hold on.
Let me finish.
I don't have to read a book in Jewish Aqidah. I just
hold on.
have to know what the Quran says.
Hold on.
Know what the Quran says. The Quran says.
Hold on. I heard you. Wait a second.
Those who are going to be punished by God. Who's going to be punished by God? The Jews.
Okay. Hold on.
Why are they going to be punished by God? Is it because they're so good? Is it because they have the right creed? Is it because they stayed on the right path? No, it's because they went astray. Okay,
just hold on.
What about all the things that is mentioned about the calf and all the things that's mentioned about with Moses?
We killed those people. The people who worship the calf were considered wajib al-qatil by the Jewish people, and we put them to death. So anyways, but let me finish what I'm saying. Don't pay attention to the chat. Let me finish, please. Don't pay attention to the chat. This is a discussion between you and the chat.
But I already told you, your knuckle is not.
I heard your argument. Now let me finish. As I was speaking, you cut me off. So let me finish, please. Your knuckle is not reliable because of the fact that we can establish that our knuckle, right, has been passed down person to person all the way since Mount Sinai. Okay? Now, because the fact that we can establish that our knuckle was passed down person to person until Mount Sinai. You can't, though. Yes, we can. Let me finish.
No, you can't.
When your knuckle, let me finish. When the Quran comes to contradict the wahi, the previous wahi that was given over every single generation until ours, right? This means not by fallible men, but by prophets, but by the servants of God, and so on and so forth, directly from the mouth of God into their ears. Then this means that the Quran is simply wrong.
Blasphemy right there. They attribute mouth to God. They said mouth of God. Blasphemy.
Yes,
right
and you believe that God speaks. You believe that it says in the Quran, kun fayakun. That doesn't mean that God is literally having a mouth and speaking. That just means that
you said you just used the word mouth, and I'm saying that.
Yes, and you hold on. Do you believe that God speaks? Do you believe that God speaks?
I believe that God is attributed with an eternal and everlasting attribute that's not a found letter or language.
Okay, this is
Look,
an absolute.
You even sound like a Saudi. You sound like a Khaliji. Like your brothers, like the Wahhabis.
Khaliji? Do I sound Khaliji? So anyways.
You sound like a Khaliji Saudi.
So look, right, here's the thing. Once again, I don't think that God has actual body parts or that these are
You just said mouth.
Hold on. So first of all.
No, don't call me Effie, please.
Okay. She's Sheikh then, I don't know. But anyways, right? First of all, I don't think it's an actual sifa. Like I said, these things are just allegories. They're not actually things which apply to
And
God.
I'm saying that.
Let me finish, and you have to Sheikh. Let's not divert. I want to get to the thing I was saying about knuckle. Okay, you're establishing that your whole idea is that if I say that what the Jews believe in is this and this and this, what our religion states is this and this and this, you said no. You claim that your religion teaches this. The problem is that you are saying that my claim that my religion teaches this is wrong because the Quran comes to contradict it. The problem is that the ijma' of every single generation of the Jewish people, of the ulama of the Jewish people, right, concludes and concedes to various foundations which are not disputed. One of these foundations, right, being that God, with the idea laysa kamithlihi shay', there's nothing even like God whatsoever. He doesn't have a yad, he doesn't have a face, he doesn't have a leg, he doesn't have a foot, and so on and so forth. And
he doesn't have an organ, you mean? He Doesn't
He
have
doesn't have
organs.
organs. He doesn't have any. He
But
doesn't
he
have
is
any. He
attributed
doesn't
with
have
the
a
yed.
jism.
He is
He has
attributed with
no
the yed.
similarity to the creation, whether it be on anything in heaven and earth. Okay. Now the thing is, right, is that as a result, we say, okay, then what about, for example, it says that God has a yed in the Torah, for example, and we establish that in our naql, we learn directly, not from our own qiyas, not from our own aql and so on and so forth. No, but rather directly from the prophets themselves. They teach us that God said to them that these things are allegories, and here are the meanings. That these are not things which actually are applied to God, like they apply to a human being and so on and so forth. And in reality, they're not applied to God at all, because God lacks any sort of similarity with the creation. So no, we don't believe that God has any sort of similarity to the creation whatsoever. But the reason why you're trying to push this idea that we are the Wahhabiyun, that we are the Salafiyun, and so on and so forth.
You're very similar. You're actually their forefathers.
Okay. Whatever. But basically, like I said, if the Quran comes to claim that this is what the Jews believe and this is what it's always believed, either you have to say the Quran is talking about a group of Jews, and if you don't want to say that, then you just have to say the Quran is misunderstanding what we're saying, and that the Quran therefore is just wrong. It's not a very strong argument.
What the Quran says is that the people, the original followers of Moses, were Muslim, and then they eventually went astray because that was their nature. Their nature was that they would rebel against the prophets, they would give the prophets a hard time, they would kill the prophets. They're known as the murderers of the prophets.
Oh my goodness.
So they went astray. And then the final issue, the final thing that happened was when they rejected Prophet Jesus alayhi salam, and they tried to kill him, and they even claimed that they actually did kill him. They take pride in it. So that was it. And then after that, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was sent, and he was described in their original books, and they knew him like they know their sons. So, but the fact is that they rejected to believe in him, and that's all it is up until today.
Okay. Well, like I said, people who killed prophets, you have to keep in mind that we don't derive our teaching from those who killed prophets whatsoever. Rather, we curse those who killed prophets as traitors against God. They rebelled against God. They rebelled against His prophets. They went against His sages and His
That's attributed to the Jews.
So on and so forth.
It's not attributed to a group of people.
It can be, like I said, yes, we say that there are people who are Jews
in a Jewish
who prophets, and we say that they're kuffar. These are
Jews kafirun. As a category.
Ahlul Rida, the people who kill prophets are Ahlul Rida.
Even the Arabs,
huh?
They're referred to as Banu Israel.
Yes, they were from Bani Israel, just like how the Mushrikun of Quraysh were from Bani Ismail. Okay, and look, these people were murtadun. These people were upon the Rida, and what happened to them? We punished them. God punished them. We put them to death, and so on and so forth. In our eyes, they are wajib al-qatil. So the thing is, somebody who is from the qatilat of the prophets, the killers of the prophets, we don't consider them mu'minun. We don't bless them. We don't say that like these people are like guiding sages, and we say the opposite. We curse these people. These people are in the nar, eternally. Secondly, and this has always been the case as well. This is not something which, for example, one day we woke up and said, oh, maybe we shouldn't have killed all those prophets and so on and so forth. Is that our direct teaching comes from the students of the prophets, and this direct teaching establishes that somebody who rebels against God and His prophets is a kafir. It's very simple. With regards to Bani Ismail and the Nasara and so on and so forth, right? Look, prophets were sent to every single nation in the world. That's the thing. God offered the covenant that was given to the Jewish people, to every single nation.
Though not the Jewish people, to the Muslims.
He offered it. Let me finish.
If you're talking about ethnicity, that's
Bani Israel. Okay, Ummat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. So, anyways, right? He offered it to many, not every single, but almost every, many different nations and ummas and so on and so forth. He offered it to the Arabs, to the Bani Ismail. They said we don't want it. He offered it to the sons of Yosef. I don't know if you have Yosef or Esav or Esau in your tradition, but he offered it to the sons of Esau. They rejected it. With the Jewish people were the only people that came to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai. And then as a result of this, right, we accepted the covenant upon ourselves.
Oh, don't say the Jewish people. You're talking about the Muslims that were saved.
Why is he straw man?
And we are those, and we are that ummah. We are that ummah back. Yes, we are that ummah.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
No, we are Ahl Musa wa Yusha alayhim salam.
No, those people blasphemed a long time ago, and they added blasphemy to their blasphemy when they rejected Jesus, and they added blasphemy to their blasphemy when they rejected Muhammad.
Okay, first of all, right? No, we are the same. We are the same ummah, as from those days, and Isa and Muhammad and these people, right? They did
No,
not teach the
definitely you're
truth.
not.
They did not. They did not.
If
These two
a'udhu
did not
billah,
teach the truth. These
a'udhu
were two
billah,
people who,
a'udhu
you can
billah.
say audu billah, you can say audu billah, but
Crazy.
this is the truth. I'm sorry. I'm not blaspheming them or
It's not
insulting
the
them.
truth. They perform miracles, so that
No, it
already
doesn't matter.
refutes
Okay,
you.
we have
That already refutes you.
if you think that miracles, first of all, if you think that miracles, right, are proof of prophethood, you might as well go and accept
They
every
are.
single religion. You might as well
Nope.
go and
Nope. And
accept the
that, and
religion
we'll
of the
stand on
Hindus.
that.
You might as
And
well
we'll
go and
stand on
accept the
that.
religion.
And
You
we'll
might as
stand
well
on
accept our
that. And we'll
religion.
stand on that. Listen, Ahlul Sunnah will
Sure.
stand on that. The miracle is the evidence that the claimer of prophethood is telling the truth. That's the 100% evidence because it's extraordinary and it's unmatched and it's undefeated. So
Okay, hold on.
that the
So
miracle is the proof that a prophet is a prophet.
my question for you, okay? If you believe that the miracles of Muhammad, that you attribute to Muhammad, okay? So, for example, the splitting of the moon, whether it be the revelation of the Quran, whether it be, healing people, predicting the future, and so on and so forth, having knowledge of the past, having knowledge of science, etc. You might as well accept Judaism, you might as well accept Christianity, you might as well
No,
accept Hinduism, and so on and so forth.
no,
You're saying no, but here's the problem. You're saying no, but you haven't even heard of what I'm about to tell you
no.
before. That's the thing. You haven't heard
No,
of these
because
things.
I
You've
already
only
know
heard the
that you
arguments of your own
reject
religion.
Muhammad, then we have to
Hold on.
follow.
Let me finish.
Yani that's
Let me finish.
La ilaha illallah goes aligned with the Muhammad Rasulullah. You can't
Okay.
have one without the other.
Yes. However, like I said,
So
I understand this is your
you're
belief.
Jewish.
This
You
is your
can
belief.
claim
Hold
that
on.
the Jews say that God is not a
This.
body and all that. But if you reject Muhammad or if you reject any prophet,
Okay.
that makes
Fine.
you
But
a
that's fine.
non-believer.
I'm not.
That
Like
makes
I
you a
said,
blasphemer.
this is your belief, and this belief is
Yeah,
not
that's what
from Iman. This belief is from something which is made up by human beings.
that's what's
So,
in the
anyways.
Quran.
And
That's the
well, this is
Quran.
the Quran is not from God. But let me finish what I'm
A'udhu
saying, please.
billah, crazy,
يقول أعوذ بالله,
crazy,
but let me finish what I'm saying.
crazy,
Let me finish what
crazy,
I'm saying. Ala, do you want to hear what
crazy.
I'm saying, or do you want
No,
to
because
hear what yourself is saying?
no, because you're talking on and on and on, but
I'm trying
it
to
comes
give
down
you
to
evidence. I'm trying to give
no,
you
you're
a
not. You're not
rebuttal.
giving any evidence. You're not
I'm
giving
trying
any
to do
evidence.
that, and you keep cutting me off every time I try to give evidence. So please let me
No,
finish.
you don't. You just keep on talking and talking. You're not getting to a point.
I'm trying to
But
get to a point every single
you're
time
not.
I try to make a
You're
point.
not.
You cut me off and then move to
No, you
something
keep on
else.
talking about your supposed ijma, but that doesn't
Okay, no, hold
hold up
on.
against the
Let me
Quran.
First of all, the ijma is not based on, for example, like, oh, this the random opinions of ulama. The ijma is based on, for example, the transmission. It is based on the naql that directly comes down from the prophets.
The
Secondly,
knuckle
don't
of
pivot. Wait,
men
don't
that
pivot. Just
were
hold on,
vile and wicked and that
Don't
they
pivot.
killed the prophets. So their
Okay.
knuckle is not
Allahumma
credible.
al'an qatilat an-nabi. La'natullahi ta'ala alayhim.
Yeah, the
Okay.
la'nat are upon you. That's for
So
sure. No
anyways,
problem. No doubt about that.
first of all, you claim
The damnation is upon
that.
you.
Hold on. Let me finish. First of all, we'll prove whether or not the damnations are upon me or upon you in a second. If you want to argue, I want to get to my point. If you want to argue that miracles are proof, okay, or the miracles that Muhammad performed, right, are proof of, for example, prophethood, you might as well follow Judaism. You might as well follow Christianity. You might as well follow Hinduism, and so on and so forth. Because when other religions, what you find is that the Hindus, the Jews, the Christians, all these different religions, they have knowledge of science, thousands of years, hundreds of years before
No,
any sort of
no, no,
scientific. Let
no,
me
no,
finish.
no,
Let
no.
me finish.
That's
Let me finish.
big time
Let him
cap.
Let me
finish.
finish.
But
Let
you're
me
saying a bunch of
finish.
lies. You're saying a bunch of lies.
Let me
And even
finish.
that argument's not even
لا
logical.
تكون
It's
oh
not
my
even
god لا
logical.
تكون كاذب. Okay, my goodness. Let me finish what I'm saying. لا تكون كاذب. Don't be you don't be so quick to speak. Okay, look. Here's the thing. What was I going to say? So here's the thing. The Hindus, for example, they have knowledge of the stars. They have knowledge of astronomy. They have knowledge of astrology. They have knowledge of the human body. They have knowledge of the mountains and of geography and of geology and so on and so forth. Hidden things, and also about the shape of the earth, also about the position of the earth within the solar system, and so on and so forth, in their books thousands of years before the Greek scientists, thousands of years before both the Greek scientists, or hundreds of years more accurately, hundreds of years before the Greek scientists, and hundreds and thousands of years before modern science. Okay, the Jews. We have, for example, in our book, scientific knowledge, thousands of years before modern science, also hundreds of years before the Greek scientists, and so on and so forth, about the same subjects that I just mentioned. The Christians as well, for example, in their books, in the writings of the church fathers, they proclaim that they have traditions, for example, going back to the apostles, that establish
Yeah, that
knowledge
they
of the stars,
claim
the
that the
stars,
earth
and
is
so on and so
flat.
forth.
Really? That they claim that
No,
the
they
earth
don't
is
claim
flat?
the earth is flat. Now, anyways, they actually, if you go to the church fathers, such as Augustine, what you're going to find is that they actually establish that the earth is round. So, anyways, right? and spherical. So, anyways, right? The point is, right, is that even today, for example, right? So that already establishes the idea of scientific miracles, for example. Like I said, anybody who's here, they can do their own research. Go to any other religion. Okay, what you're going to find is that each and every single religion makes a claim to scientific miracles.
That's not true.
Long before, well, yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Long before the advent.
You can't even give one example. You can't even give one example.
Hold on. You want an example right now? The
You
Gemara.
can't even give one example.
And then it
won't fit the criteria of a miracle.
Do you want an example right now? The
You don't
Gemara,
have
the
one.
Babylonian Talmud.
You don't have one.
Okay, which you. Okay, so I'm literally about to give one, so just let me finish. Which the Babylonian Talmud, which is from God, you consider to be bid'ah, establishes the exact number of stars in the solar system that NASA agrees to. It literally says that this is the specific number of stars in the solar system. NASA gives the exact same number.
Oh
they
my
say
God.
that yes, this number is correct. So that's literally just one example. That's one example.
How is that an example? How is that an example? How is that an example?
Because that establishes the exact number of stars
because NASA is trustworthy.
Okay, so are you not the people, for example, who appeal to NASA, who appeal to modern science, who appeal to scientific studies? No. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. To appeal to the idea of count of chromosome in bees. You people appeal to the idea of theology about,
that's not. Listen, if you're trying to say that there's some book that NASA said that the same number as that book, that's not a miracle.
Okay, so when people who go and count the exact, first of all, you're the people who appeal to scientists. That's the first thing. When you go and count the exact number of stars, right?
We don't appeal to any science that's contradictory to the Quran.
The only way. Let me finish. The only way. I didn't say the word.
Too much. You're talking too much, man.
The only way, the only way to establish the exact number of stars in the universe, right, is to either one, get a satellite into space or some sort of camera into space and count different patterns and clusters of stars and so on and so forth to see the consistency of number of stars between them.
Count with
and then
what?
estimate.
Do you even know how cameras work in space?
Let me finish. To estimate from that, the specific number of stars in one specific area. This example being the solar system. Okay, now. Like I said, if you want to appeal to NASA, which is once again, go to your own da'wah videos, go to your own du'as.
I don't appeal to those people, but
secondly, when the exact number of stars is given in the solar system 2,000 years ago, written down 2,000 years ago, without any sort of camera in outer space, without any sort of ability to count all the stars in the solar system and so on and so forth, that precise number. How are you going to suggest, for example, that they all just decide that this is somehow just a random coincidence? Okay.
So you're telling me NASA didn't look in that book and say that that's the number of stars? You're telling me that?
Okay. So apparently NASA believes in it. Does NASA believe in the Talmud?
You're saying that they can't. Some guy in NASA came across something and decided to say, "Oh, let's say this."
They gave They give the exact number. They give the exact way they are able to count all the stars and so on and so forth. If you don't want to rely on NASA or scientists, that's fine. Just really quickly, if you don't want to rely on NASA or scientists, that's fine. But can you please throw out all your other claims of scientific miracles if you do that, which I'm perfectly fine with.
No, because that doesn't fit the criteria of a miracle. Number one. Number two.
What's the criteria of the miracle? Just tell me really quickly.
The criteria of the miracle is that it's extraordinary, that it breaches the laws of the norm, that it's done by someone claiming prophethood, and that it's undefeated and unmatched. But before you keep talking again, before you go on another rant, just listen. If you're trying to say that the Quran is not a miracle, it's an exercise in futility for you to even have that conversation.
Okay. I understand that you believe in the I can't. It's like a tongue twister. Inimitability of the Quran. I understand that. For anybody here, I recommend they look.
That's something that's not debatable.
Okay. Well, I recommend looking up Or and Navran on YouTube, right? Mathematical proof of the Torah is divine. Okay, and there you go. And then I challenge you to make a book like that. There you go. So, anyways.
Go to Chaser Transmission.
Hold on, that's O-R-E-N space, wait. O-R-E-N space E-V-R-O-N, mathematical proof that the Torah is divine. Okay? O-R-E-N.
Don't go to those.
So there you go. So I challenge any Muslim, okay, to make a book like that. I challenge any Muslim or Christian or whoever. Any mushrik, any kafir, and so on and so forth.
Okay, now remain silent.
Okay, go ahead.
The Quran gave an even easier challenge for the Jews during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that challenge was very simple because they claimed back then, as they do claim still today, that they're the chosen people of God. So it was mentioned, yani addressing them, that if you are the chosen people, then wish to die. So all that had to happen to supposedly debunk the Quran was just for one of them, to wish for death. But they all stayed silent. So
Okay.
that's
If
one
I
example.
am
That's one
upon
example. That's
Okay,
one
what-
example of the miraculousness of the Quran and
okay.
of a certain type. There's the challenges, and then there's the actual things, that's information that could not possibly have been known during that time.
Okay. Okay. We already went through one of those, which was a scientific miracle thing. But
No,
so
you
we'll go through
didn't.
the first thing.
You
We
just
did.
went through numbers, and
Well,
that
no, I
still
gave you an
that's a.
example. No. I'm sorry. Don't
And you
misinterpret what
said
I'm saying.
the word
Don't misinterpret
Talmud.
what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
even know if that's something that is considered to be the same as the Torah.
It's
But
considered ilahi, but it's considered ilahi bias. That's the first thing. Secondly, right? I'm gonna finish what I'm
Oof,
saying.
refuted again.
I'm gonna
but
finish what
that
I'm gonna
that's
finish. Let me finish what
but
I'm
that's
saying. Right?
still your
Hold on.
claims by
Okay, I can
themselves.
establish if you want me to prove that claim, I can do that. But let me. So we've already went through the scientific miracle thing. It's not counting. You can't count the number of stars in the universe unless you have a camera that allows you to enhance your vision into the actual not the universe, sorry, the solar system, that actually allows you to count, right? That actually allows you to count the different clusters and the different patterns inside the solar system and deduce from that the actual number. Okay, no, you can't do that if you're living 2,000 years ago and this thing was written down. NASA is able to do that because of the fact that they actually have the modern technology to do so. If you don't want to rely on NASA or scientists, I'm fine with that.
That's another claim.
Hold on, let me finish.
That
If you don't want
NASA's able to do that.
if you don't want to rely on NASA or scientists, I'm fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. But anyways, the second thing, right, is that the Jews have a simple challenge. If they're the chosen people, you said what exactly? That they should what should they do again?
If they would wish for death.
I would wish that if I am upon kufr and upon falsehood, okay, and that my religion, let's say if my religion, God forbid, is falsehood, may God curse me in this life and the next.
And you are.
Okay, that's
Based on
your
that.
belief.
Based
May
on
God
that.
curse me in this life and the next. So once
But you
again,
already are.
if the Jews are Bani
But that's
Israel,
not wishing for death.
if the Jews were okay, may God curse me in this life and the next and cast me down, separate my soul from my body, and curse me in this life and the next. So anyway,
that's not wishing for death.
What do you think death is? If I am upon kufr, I wish for death. If I am upon kufr, may God strike me down, I wish for death. If I am upon kufr. Na'udhu billah ta'ala. So anyways.
And you definitely are upon kufr.
Okay.
But like I said, that was addressed.
Yes, you go to change the transmission.
That was addressed to the people at that time.
That was addressed to the people at that time. Why?
Yeah, because the address was to them.
If the dalil is that if your dalil that it's divine is contingent on the will of human beings, whether or not they have
not the will.
Yes, it is.
Just
it is.
Whether they wouldn't step up to the challenge.
Jews, whether or not these Yahud have the will, whether or not to say that they wish for God to curse them and kill them and so on and so forth, if they're upon kufr, then that's not dalil at all. That's a very weak argument. Because the moment I said it, the moment I wished for this, if I'm upon kufr, you said it was for the people of the time. So, there's a switch. There's a complete switch.
Listen. Yeah. So let's imagine like back during that time, there was a debate happening. You see, like how we're talking right now.
There's a debate now. There's an ikhtilaf now. But yeah, go ahead.
Listen. So during that debate, in the heat of that debate, in the moment of that debate, it was said to them, yani the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying this. He is saying it himself. He's reciting it. And all they had to do to belie him was to do that. But they didn't.
Okay, well, I just did that.
So, like I said, when the debate was happening during that time, they didn't. Do you see how that's the dalil?
Okay.
You see how that's the dalil? Because in the heat of the debate, in the real...
Oh, hello? Is my thing cutting out? Is your thing cutting out? Hello?
In the heat of the debate, in real time, they refused to. You see how you were so brazen to do it? You see how you were so brazen? That doesn't change the fact that you are al-maghdubi alayhim. That doesn't change the fact that... that you're the enemies of God and the enemies of Gabriel and the enemies of Mikael doesn't change that fact.
Okay.
Back then they didn't do it. So that establishes that as a dalil. Because when the challenge occurred in real time, they refused to, and they were the people that were the heads and the
your dalil is whether or not the Yahud at the time were willing to curse themselves in the case that they were upon kufr. So your dalil is contingent on the will of human beings,
that they were the chosen people. That they were the chosen people.
Okay.
That they were the chosen people.
If I am not from the if I am from the chosen people and I am saying falsehood, right, that I'm not really from the chosen people, rather I'm upon kufr, may God curse me in this life and the next. It's very simple.
But you are cursed already.
For some reason, your proof is contingent on whether or not these people had the will
it's not contingent.
To make this statement on them. Yes, it is contingent on that. It's completely contingent on that. Because you're claiming that if they really were the chosen people, Muhammad said, if they really were the chosen people, they would go, or in the heat of the debate, sorry, this is what you're saying, at the time when these Jews were debating with Muhammad, they would curse themselves and say that they were the chosen people. But
how is wishing to die cursing yourself? How is wishing to die cursing yourself? I said wish for death. Because whoever claims that they're God's chosen people.
Wish for death. I said I wish for death if I am upon kufr right now.
I'll repeat it again. Listen, I'll repeat it again. You see how you were so brazen to do it right now? Your people back then were not so brazen. Do you see the point there?
Matter?
Yeah, Allah.
Why would that matter? My goodness.
What do you mean? Why would it matter? Because that was the point. Because they were challenging the prophet. They were challenging the prophet, and so he put it on them. He put it on them, and he put it on them.
Okay, are these ma'sumin? Are these people we consider to be ma'sum? Are these people prophets? Who are
these? The point is, these are the people that were being addressed at the moment, and they stayed silent, and they stayed silent, and they stayed silent. Do you deny that they stayed silent? Of course you don't. That's why you're so brazen. That's why you're so brazen. And that's the riwayah that matters. That's the riwayah that matters.
Your answer is that these aren't like people we consider to be ma'sum. These aren't people we consider to be prophets. These are really, just simply put, some Jews.
Those were the leaders of the Jews.
Okay, so are they ma'sum? Are they, how much faith did they have? Are they ma'sum? What did they believe?
I mean, they were the leaders at the time, so they were considered by your people to... I already said no.
There are shuyukh who became kuffar. There are sahaba who became kuffar, who became murtadun.
Talk about straw.
They're not ma'sum. I could say the same thing because
you couldn't.
Your leaders, your
couldn't.
Because many of them became kuffar, many of them became a part of Ahlul Rida. That therefore, this is the proof that your religion is Islam. What are you talking about?
They wouldn't be a sahaba. They wouldn't be a sahaba if they committed ridda and they died that way.
Really? So why did you have wars between Abu Bakr, Aisha, and so on and so forth, leading wars against people who they went after the other? They went after the other.
They didn't have war against Aisha. But there are different reasons.
That's not
what I said. You did say that.
No, I said Abu Bakr and Aisha, for example, and Umar and so on and so forth, and Uthman, waging war against the people who went to the other false prophets, according to false prophets.
Listen, I'm saying a Sahabi is not categorized as a Sahabi if he died as an apostate. Do you get that part?
Okay, so your whole belief in al-Dhallat al-Sahaba, so you have this belief in al-Dhallat al-Sahaba according to the Quran.
What?
Yes, you do. Yes, you don't believe in al-Dhallat al-Sahaba.
In what?
Al-Dhallat al-Sahaba. Al-Dhallat al-Sahaba.
What is that?
You don't know what al-Dhallat al-Sahaba is?
Yeah, what are you trying to say? You're saying it wrong.
Al-Dhallat al-Sahaba. You don't know
say it in English.
The reliability or the trustworthiness of the Sahaba.
So let me correct you. Al-Adalah. Adalatu al-Sahaba. You understand? No, not Adalla. Not Adalla. Adala with an ain in the beginning. Ain, dal, alif, lam, ta marbuta. Adala. Is it clear now? Okay. Before you laugh.
Reliability of the Sahaba.
Mister, I want to remain anonymous because I'm speaking the truth and I want to hide my face.
Whatever. Anyways.
And that, na'udhu billah, you're from Ahlil Nar.
Ahl al-Nar.
Yeah,
بكلمة موسى عليه الصلاة والسلام. أهل السنة والجماعة يعني هذا الجماعة.
موسى عدوك. موسى عدوك.
نعم. Okay. First of all, not true at all. He's not my enemy. But anyways.
Yes, he is for sure, 100%.
Absolutely not. So anyways, First of all, he is a Sayyidi. So, anyways, right?
Zamika.
Oh my
That's what you
goodness.
claim.
So, anyways, right? The your whole idea of having reliability of the Sahaba, for example, is based on
Is
ayah in the Quran.
intact.
Okay, so it's
Yes.
intact. It's based on ayah in the Quran and so on and so forth. This is why, for example, you don't feel the need to this is why, for example, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says that you don't need to review, for example, you don't need to review whether or not they're honest, whether or not they're not honest, because of the fact that the Quran has already affirmed them. But by you, right, for example, a person who could be considered a Sahabi in one instance, right, is then no longer considered a Sahabi when he dies upon kufr. Right. So the thing is that, okay, so that would immediately negate the idea of this reliability of Sahaba thing. Unless you want
No,
to
because he would be outside. He would be outside the category of a Sahabi, so he would not be called a Sahabi.
Okay, so at one point he's considered from your ummah. At the other point, he's not considered from your ummah. At one point, he's considered from the companions of the one who you call your prophet, right? And another point, he's not considered from the companions of the one who you call your prophet. If you have somebody, right here, let's say for example, right, if you have somebody who you're taking ahadith from, who you're taking fiqh from, and so on and so forth, who's a Sahabi, and there's evidence that comes out that shows that he's a kafir, and so on and so forth. The immediate problem that's created by this is that you're allowing amazing swaths of misguidance and unreliability and unreliable beliefs, unreliable narrations to flow into the stream of your books. That's the first thing. The second thing, right, is that look, my main point.
Respond to that. You
my main point.
Talking.
My main point.
That's not true. What you said.
Look, if these random Jews, they're not ma'soom. Okay,
they weren't random Jews. They were the leaders of the Jews.
Okay. Well, they're not. Whatever you want to call them, they're not ma'soom. They're not prophets. They're not sages, and so on and so forth. These are literally just a group of some Jews.
Leaders.
Calling them leaders of the community doesn't change it. Not
the community. Not the community. In
or
knowledge.
The people, or the city, or
in
Medina,
knowledge.
or Mecca. It doesn't matter how many people they led. I can go to examples where at one point you considered somebody a Sahabi, another point you consider them not a Sahabi because of the fact that they died upon kufr and went to the other false prophets, of the time, and so on and so forth. And therefore
seems like you're not understanding the definition of what a Sahabi is. If they died on apostasy, if they died as a murtad,
that he's a Sahabi of Muhammad in this life and the next. I understand.
No, I'm saying if he died as an apostate, then we know he wasn't a Sahabi.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay. However, at one point did the other Sahaba consider them in the category of Sahaba, the ones who you consider to be Sahaba? Hello? There we go. I think is that either my Wi-Fi or yours? I don't remember. So I repeat the whole thing you just said. My Wi-Fi. Either you were silent for me.
I said. If once they had the correct belief, they apparently were Muslim, they were treated as such.
Okay, so were they considered Sahaba by the other Sahaba or not?
Like I said, they would be judged as Muslim, apparently.